Hi guys, I'm here today with JD from Dykes van Heerden, and we're going to discuss the property condition report. JD, so a lot of people are wondering what is the purpose of the property condition report? How does it? What happens if you don't have a property condition report with the offer to purchase? The pros and cons, and yes, and everything legal.
Everything legal. So the scope of today's session is everything legal. So the Property Condition Report came in 2022 when the Property Practitioners Act became proclaimed by Parliament. And it essentially says that when a seller gives an instruction or a mandate to an estate agent or property practitioner, at that stage already, the property practitioner needs to take a full property condition report from that seller rather. The Act does provide us with an example, and remember, if you don't want to use that example, you need to apply to the PPRA for special dispensation to use your own. So most property practitioners use the standard one provided in the Act. It's very important that the sellers are absolutely truthful when doing this, because this document is absolutely there for the protection of the agent, but also for the seller. Because should there in the future arise a problem, the purchaser will be referring back to this document, and this will be the only recourse the seller has to protect them when we later will discuss latent patent defects and how latent defects can be cured by the footsteps clause.
That's it. That's actually what I also wanted to ask, because a lot of clients say yes, but it's footsteps, I'm selling it as is. So how does that, with the latent patent and also with the property condition report, how does it all relate?
So if we look at the property condition report, very interestingly, they've defined certain things for us. So in the regulations, they say that this report does not constitute a guarantee or a warranty of any kind by the owner, in this case the seller, of the property, or by the property practitioner representing the owner in this transaction. So it's not a guarantee, it's not a warranty, but it is in fact a disclosure, as the title says. And then it goes on, because the seller always says, what do I need to disclose? And here the Act says, to be aware means to have actual notice of certain facts or a state of affairs. So you can only disclose what you know. And this is why the agent can't fill in the report for the seller. The agent or the property practitioner has not lived in the property and accordingly doesn't know what the defects are. The seller has to therefore fill in this report himself. Now, a purchaser can never hold a seller liable for a patent defect, one you can see easily and with reasonable inspection, but a latent defect, one where you cannot see it as easily and maybe even need an expert to point it out to you, then in those instances the seller is still protected unless the purchaser can prove three things. The seller knew about the defect, the seller hid it away, and the seller did so with the intention to defraud. The last leg is very, very important, very difficult to get around, for the simple reason the courts have justified this by saying you need to prove what is going on in the mind of your particular seller, not of the reasonable seller, not of the reasonable person. And this is why purchasers are more often than not unsuccessful when applying to court for a monetary amount or a reduction of the purchase price due to defects.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Okay, so the way I see what I've explained to my clients is patent is, a crack in the window. So that's clearly visible.
Yes.
Don't have to go, there's a crack in the window. But something like damp or perhaps the roof burning down that no one can see, the trusses are not proper, that sort of thing is latent and that needs to be disclosed.
Absolutely. I always say to my sellers, disclose as much as possible, even the patent defects, because this is the one document that's going to protect you. So rather put everything on it. And I know the Act, or the one in the Act only provides you with 3 lines. Put in another paper at the back and write down all the defects. Only you know your property and you don't want to get in hot trouble, or hot water rather, with your purchaser.
Well, you want to give a property the way you want to find a property. You want to hand it over to somebody else. And then do you have a case scenario for us?
Always. We've got, you mentioned roof defects, so we have 2, one where the seller was successful and one where the purchaser was successful. So the first one, the thatch roof was built at an incorrect angle, and the seller actually had a contractor out there, told him it was built at an incorrect angle. the seller didn't disclose this to the purchaser, and when the purchaser then had a contractor come out, the same contractor came out, and he said to the purchaser, I know this property, I know this thatch roof. And after quite a spiel in the courts they had to appeal, the purchaser was successful in reducing the purchase price with something, and here's the word of the day, the actio quanti minoris, which just means application or action to reduce the purchase price. Another one was that there was a roof leak. The seller had a contractor fix it. It turned out that the contractor didn't do a good job. But the purchaser was unsuccessful. Why? Because of the third leg, remember, the intention to defraud. And in the seller's mind, that contractor had fixed it properly. He paid the contractor the full amount, and therefore there was no way we could have intentionally defrauded the purchaser. And unfortunately, the purchaser was there unsuccessful, and they had to pay for the repair himself.
Sure, yeah. I also had a case, I'll share it now, where the client, I wasn't told, and we had the sale going, and it turned out after the sale registered, they went into the roof and then they saw that there was a fire in the roof. Yes,
that's a big one.
So the seller had people, he had the insurance company come through, they fixed everything. He thought everything was properly fixed because it was the insurance that sent their guys out, and it turns out it wasn't completely fixed.
Sure.
But luckily he had all the proof. So yes, nothing came of that because he also thought it was properly fixed and it wasn't. So yeah, that's the importance of the disclosure form. Definitely make sure that it's all completed properly, everything's disclosed, and yeah, that's my advice for today. Thanks, JD.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you. Okay.